really change the topic. Right? You were just hearing about exciting things like AI and HPN and so on. But so just to start off, can anybody raise his or her hands if you like your government? Anybody like the government? So, but we live in democracies, right? So all the governments, they really rely on the love, quote unquote, of the people that they govern. And in most cases, in many governments, people actually don't necessarily love their government or even like them. They really hate them usually. So as you can imagine, a lot of governments try to find ways where they can be liked a little bit, liked better, right? So in the case of Korea, there's a very interesting phenomenon that's been going on for the last 2 years since the new president came in. So he had this, I guess, a vision where I'll be liked by the people of Korea by leading the nation as a top country in the world for digitalization of the government. So let me just talk about the learn a little bit. I didn't have a chance to write a new slide deck for this talk, so I just asked the people at the Korean Presidential Committee on Digital Government, and can I borrow your slide? So that's what I did. So I just have to use that. Okay, so that's just my PR about myself, but doing many different things. Okay. So PC, actually there's a K, Korean Presidential Committee on Digital Platform Government. Almost sounds like some kind of a Communist Party acronym, but so what is it? So like a few years ago, the Korean government, when the president came in, one of his top government policies that he promised to his the people was, as I said, we transform the government services, how the government works, vis-a-vis the citizens as well as internally among themselves. And as a tall order, there's a little bit of history where Korea actually has a history of having been at the forefront of digitalization of government in the early 2000s. The then president actually had some words with people like Masayoshi Son at the time actually, and had the foresight to invest in that. So for about 10 years, Korea was ranked at the top of the digitalization of governments actually for almost a decade. But Korean government IT has also gone through like an innovator's dilemma because they were so much ahead of everybody else. About 20 years ago, they stuck with that. And then in the meantime, the world of IT has evolved. The cloud came in, you know, the cloud native applications, the modern applications, the modular software development, everything came in and AI came in, Korea was left behind. So its rank at the top of the nations in a digitalization index has become lowered a little bit in the recent years. Koreans are still pretty good at compensating for their lack of, you know, creativity in some cases by the sheer will and sheer work. So Koreans have still been able to manage to provide a whole lot of services to their citizens and internally amongst themselves by working on top of old infrastructure. So as a result of that, Korea now boasts about 14,000 government systems, all disparate, all completely different. Effectively 14,000 data silos actually. On top of that, a few years ago, Korea approved one of the most strictest data privacy laws in the whole world. So because of that, if you are leading a government department, for example, and you are sitting next to your neighbor department, and you both have data that, if they combined, you could provide amazing services, but you cannot do that because the Korean regulation regime is really allows you to use your data only for specific purposes, and if you ever try to use it for anything other than which is already approved by the law, you can go to jail. So because of that, complete silos. So we wanted to, the president wanted to abolish all of that and to really have a happy, unified world of data, and using that data to provide services. You're looking at the org chart of the KPCDPG. At the top of the, I guess, chart is the president, I guess, because we are reporting to the president. And then there's the chairman of the committee. We have 18 industry experts from the public sector as well as the private sector. I'm one of the committee members. 6 different work groups. I'm leading the service work group there too. And then we also have 17 task forces. I have signed up and raised my hand to lead the digital twin task force. The reason that I wanted to go there was because no one else wanted to go there, and also I thought because that was a niche topic that nobody would go there, and then as a result of that, there would be a whole lot of waste that would happen there. So I wanted to prevent that. The real reason I wanted to go to lead the digital twin traffic here was to make sure that none of my tax money would be spent wastefully there. But then I realized that there were a lot of things that can be done. So we are actually doing some important things. You can see some of the photos. The guy at the center is the President of Korea. We're doing a lot of talks with a lot of governments, other digitalization ministries of the other governments. The left below picture is one of our recent conversations with the Danish Ministry of Digitalization. By the way, Denmark ranks #1. We rank #2 right now. The right below picture is a recent meeting between ourselves and the German Ministry of Transportation and IT. Very interestingly, in the nation of Germany, the digitalization ministry is actually with the transportation ministry too. So it's very interesting that different countries actually emphasize different aspects of digitalization. And in the case of Germany, the whole of digitalization of the government is highly associated with the mobility, and also the mobility industry too. We have formed some national strategies. By the way, before we do this, the market size of the Korean government IT is about $11 billion a year. So it's a sizable market. It's growing at about 5% a year. And if we have our ways, that the 18 people in the committee have our ways, that budget will probably grow at like 10% or more. So it's a relatively big market. Right now, 99.9% of that is all just spent by Korean companies. And because I believe in the balanced trade and everything, and I really personally believe that Korea should not continue to just portray itself just as an exporting country. It will have to become a more balanced trading country. People like me really wanted to open this market for innovators from all over the world. So if there's anyone here from Silicon Valley who has great ideas for GovTech innovations, we're very eager to learn about what you might be able to offer. Many different things, but so there are 4 themes. One is really citizen-centric services, and then the second theme is to make the government one team by abolishing the data silos. The third theme is growth platform for the public-private partnerships. And what I mean by that is that there's a whole lot of focus on enabling important private sector service providers, such as the Google equivalent or the Facebook equivalent, Meta equivalent of Korean companies, to actually be able to provide the government services using their platforms to the citizens. That's pretty interesting. So instead of the government actually trying to provide all the services through its own portals or apps, they now want to actually utilize the Korean equivalent of the Googles and Metas to be able to provide that, and also the banking apps too. The fourth is to try to be trustworthy, because they want to be liked, right? Some of the key points for the citizen-centric services is the establishment of a single national, single sign-on ID. So we're working on that. As far as we know, the only 2 other countries actually have this. One is Estonia, the other country is UAE, in the whole world. So Korea wants to become the 3rd country in the world to have a single national, single sign-on ID. And what they mean by proactive services is that they want to use AI to predict what a citizen may need, not right now, but in the future. So they want to actually to understand what each and every citizen is going through in life, for example. And at any instant, if a person actually accesses a government site, they want to know, they want to be very certain about what kind of services they want to actually proactively provide. So this is a tall order, but we're working on it, making some progress. In the government, they want to, as I said, abolish the silos. But again, on the middle, you see a heavy reliance on AI. We are actually making a plan to make the world's first government-specific large language model. So right now, still, as I said, people are mostly working with Korean providers. But if this is of any interest to anybody here, I'll be very happy to talk to you. So because I don't think that the model has to be just Korean either. So, and as I said, collaborative private and public partnerships. When this was being discussed 2 years ago, I was one of the very few people who also suggested, okay, now that we are going to do this anyway, why not actually open this to the likes of the Googles and Metas too, not just Korean equivalent to these services. They didn't listen to us at the time, citing, of course, national security reasons and so on, the Korean citizen data privacy needs and so on. While at the same time, there's a whole lot of leaks to all of this data to a very large country neighboring right next to us. But as we move along, this might actually happen. So there are a sizable group of people within these committees and even in the government who wants to actually open up Korean government IT to the people outside of Korea. Some security concerns. As I said, we are running as fast as we can. The budget actually, these characters are too small. We'll share the slides through Asia to Global, and I think through the conference's site. If anybody's interested, you can download it later, I think. However, one important thing is that the budget for all this. So last year, because we just opened up last year, our entire budget was less than $10 million. This year, we worked with the budgets last year, so this year the entire budget of the Korean Presidential Committee DPG projects are at about $700 million this year, 2024. Next year, it's probably going to be about $1.2 billion. So compared to that $11 billion entire government IT budget is still small, but as a size for transformative projects, now that we are at about 6-7%. We are probably going to be at 10% next year, so it's not insignificant. But there's a whole lot of focus on transformative projects, transformative applications, and also infrastructure and so on. There are some projects which are now being budgeted for about twice as usual because they decided to apply cloud-native development strategies, which usually takes more investment to make happen. So. Expected achievements, of course, because this is a government document, there's no number, right? There's all just nouns and adjectives. But we have some internal milestones and internal objectives, so metrics and so on. But I probably said too many details, and I probably overspent my time. The important thing is that very interestingly, out of many advanced countries, Koreans and the Korean government, at least the current government, has decided that they want to be liked by their citizens by providing much better services on the government services to their citizens, right? And they're investing in it with transformative principles. AI, for example, they're going to use AI for all of the government services. There will be government chatbots and everything else. So again, if anybody here is interested in talking to us about your companies or technologies, we'll be very happy to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Cha, for sharing with us